he went on a golf trip, and he said that all of his buddies were now, he said he was always the funny fat friend. His buddies were now asking him for fitness advice and what to eat and like all this stuff. And he's like, dude, guys, I thought I was the fat guy,
Yeah, right.
But even more cool than that was his daughter came up to him at one point, like in the last month or two, and asked if he would start to teach her how to work out and how to get in shape, because she wanted to start to do the things that dad was doing.
All right, welcome to the Golf Fitness Bomb Squad. I'm your host, Chris Finn, and I am super excited for today's episode, ladies and gentlemen. We have a legend when it comes to not only golf fitness, but podcasting. Jeff Pelizzaro, a good friend, I've known for a long time, is here with us. Before I even let him talk, I'm going to just brag on him a little bit because he's too humble to say anything, just so you guys know who you are listening to today. This is one of the probably episodes I've been most excited for. Jeff he's a licensed physical therapist, just like myself, so we can get into any of the medical stuff we want, but we actually both decided we didn't want to do that. We wanted to do other things. So we share a lot in common. He's Golf Digest Top 50, TPI certified. He is a best-selling author. He's been featured ESPN radio and lots of other big platforms that I have not. So he's way more famous than me, which is even more exciting for me. But I think one of the biggest reasons and kind of compliments I want to give him, he has interviewed probably more people in the golf fitness and performance space than probably any living human being that I am aware of. So we are super excited and honored and lucky to have you here with us, Jeff. Welcome to the Golf Fitness Bomb Squad.
Man, thanks for the intro. That was pretty special. It's awesome to be here, man. Obviously, we have a long history going back several years. You actually came in and visited me here in St. Louis, and so we've known each other for a long time. And I'm really excited about all the cool stuff you're doing. So that intro was fascinating for me.
Well, I think one of my favorite memories going out to St. Louis, obviously I got to go up and see the arch, which was I'd never seen that before. So I took some time to do that, but getting to actually see kind of, where you were training and getting to talk to you about all the, the people that you've been able to interview and learn from, one of kind of our big goals for all of our listeners is, we call ourselves the Bomb Squad. We try to kind of diffuse, whether it's myths or things that aren't necessarily true in the golf space, or really kind of false beliefs that people have around fitness and golf, and to help them stay healthy. And I know longevity is one of the big goals of the 18Strong community. I think one of the things, absolutely, we have a number of things we want to get into today. I think I'm super curious as you think back to, I don't know how many episodes you've done, hundreds and hundreds of episodes, like some of like kind of the big key takeaways that you've had, and we can kind of riff off of that. But for those golfers who are looking to play this game as long as they can, and at an enjoyable level, right? We know that the number one reason why people stop playing the game of golf is because it ain't fun. If your back's hurting, if you're getting outdriven by all of your buddies, you're losing all your money, whatever the reason may be. If it's not fun, we're not going to have longevity in the game. As somebody who's talked to more people than anyone, what are some of the words of wisdom you can share with us to kind of kick us off here?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I mean, with so many guests, we've had 350 something episodes now. But the first thing that rings true in my head is the theme that comes from so many of the great coaches, great instructors, of the concept that we can get really complex with stuff, but really, like, the better you get, the more simplified they tend to make things, or the more simplified they stay with their tasks. But then it all kind of boils down to keeping those simplified things very consistent. That goes true for diet. That goes true for fitness. That goes true for working on your fundamental skills. We had a guest on just not too long ago. Justin Bryant just made it into the U.S. Mid-Am, and he was saying when he's out on the golf course and something's going awry, rather than look at what's this complicated little thing that I'm maybe not doing in my swing, it's like, let me just first check my alignment, let me check my posture, let me check my grip, right? Like those simple things. When it comes to diet, it's like, let me check. Am I eating too many calories? Am I getting enough protein? If you got those two things covered, then you're, for the most part, you're doing all right. Are you eating whole foods? Are you not eating a bunch of garbage? But as far as
ice cream at night is not the recommended I was hoping that somebody had said if you eat a gallon of ice cream a night, that's the key to longevity in the game and health. Not what you heard.
Yeah, not longevity. I did have a guest recommend eating a gallon of ice cream, but he comes from the bodybuilding world, so it was all regarding macros.
Different goals.
but again, to your point of enjoying the game as long as possible, one of the favorite things that I've ever heard, I think, on our show, and I think it was Carl Morris that told me this, was that we have to be very present and intentional when we're out on the golf course to remember why we're out on the golf course when we're out on the golf course. Because so many of us tell ourselves, we tell people, I love this game. I love to play. And then you go out there and you're cussing and you're throwing clubs. And it's like, do you really love to play? Because the way you're acting doesn't look like you do. And so being grateful that you're out there, being grateful that you have the ability to do the things physically and mentally and skill wise, and be able to appreciate when you hit a great shot, and understand that when you hit a bad shot, you're kind of expected to hit bad shots, unless you're Rory or Max Homa or some of these guys. They all hit them too. We just hit a lot more of them, but to expect that, and remember that, when you're walking down the fairway, to look around and take a second and say, man, it's pretty awesome to be out here. Or if like you and I, being a dad, like there's nothing cooler than being out there spending time with my son and being able to look around and say, man, Sam, isn't this pretty cool that we just get to spend this day together? And that I'm going to outdrive you all day long, little man.
You only got a few more years.
I don't even know if I have years anymore.
That's funny. I think on that note, I was playing a couple of weeks ago with a bunch of buddies, and one of the guys, he hit a good shot. And he went, "Oh, you're awesome!" Like to himself, he was like, "You're awesome," and we all kind of looked, we're like, "Weirdo!" Like, but then you think about it, you're like, how many times do you hear someone say, "Oh, you suck," or like just talking so negative to themselves?
Yeah.
The fact that if somebody like he hit how many times do you hear someone hit it to like 3 feet and they're like, "Dude," you're like, they're just like, "You're amazing," right? Like you're like positive self. It's never weird if you hear it on the golf course, right? So, but to your point, yeah, I think the more perspective is the big word I always think of, is kind of, I had big heart surgery back, 5-6 years ago. And ever since then, like I've never been mad on the golf course. And I think that's, the key to longevity is really kind of having that perspective and enjoying the game out there. Now, hitting the golf ball 150 yards is not enjoyable either, right? No matter how you want to, you can try to have all the perspective in the world you want. If you still have 3 woods into every par 4, we're going to have, issues and enjoyment. I think one of the cool things with the 18Strong community that I've always loved is the focus on this. There's a science element to it and looking at what actually works. I think one of the cool things to me is, particularly for guys like in their 40s plus, the understanding that it's not just one approach. I know I've heard about you talk about it on some episodes, and like, what have you heard in terms of, or learned, in your own practice, and you train out there, and but also in the people you've talked to, and just the research you've done as being one of the best golf fitness professionals in the world. When you say like someone, we've all had that guy, right? They come in and they're like, "This is the workout I've done for the last 20 years. I do the same machines. I do the same numbers of reps. Why am I losing distance? I go to the gym an hour a day, 5 days a week," right? And they're like banging their head on the wall. And like, I see you smiling right now. Like, how do you respond to that? And what is the answer to that question?
Well, I mean, for that person, sometimes just explaining the fact that, hey, there's plateaus that we're all going to hit. And if you've been doing the same thing for the last 10 years, you've reached that plateau quite a long time ago. And you have to kind of get them re-engaged into what are your goals? What can we try that is maybe a little bit new, and what do you want to get out of it? But having that idea of what are the things that you want to get better at? Also, being able to specify, okay, why are you here? Do you want to hit the ball farther? Is that your main goal? Do you want to just be able to walk 18 holes? Because we have guys that come in that haven't been able to walk a golf course in years. We have some that come in, they're like, "Oh, I just need to get more flexible." And we have some that come in and say, I'm losing yardage. I'm losing my balance. There's all of these different pieces, but then they want one solution that fits all of them. And if you don't have one specific solution or one specific goal in mind, or at least one general direction that you want to really put your emphasis on, then you're going to try to kind of check all the boxes, and you're really not going to be checking any of them. Okay. And so first and foremost, it's kind of like, let's get clear on at least one thing that in 3 months if we look back, what's going to be a success to you? You know, if in 3 months you're able to look back and say, yeah, I did this one thing, is that what you want? And maybe that's distance, maybe that's mobility, maybe that's, you know, whatever. But also sometimes they come in with this preconceived notion that all they need is, especially the 40 plus crowd, I'd say, typically they'll come in with a couple things. I want to, well, everybody wants to hit the ball further, right? So let's take that off the table.
I have not met a human who said, no, thank you.
Yeah. But they'll come in and say, you know, I need to come in and see it because I need to lose a few pounds. Okay, that's great. And I need to get more flexible. Those are kind of some of the big things that we hear, right? And so then it's going through a few things and say, okay, well, is that really what you need? Do you really need to get more flexible? Or are there a couple other things that we need to work on, like just maybe a little bit of movement quality, but have you been working on any strength training? Have you been doing anything with your lower body? Because most of the guys tend to not. And, you know, kind of doing a few of those things that maybe they haven't done in their program in the last 10 years is, first of all, it's going to create some pretty big wins initially, because if they haven't been doing some of these things, they're going to produce a pretty quick result, right? Whether that be increasing a little bit of mobility in their shoulder or their hips or their thoracic spine, or whether that's simply just getting them to do some sort of a split squat, or, you know, just get their hips moving in a different way. And they're able to see, oh man, just doing things a little bit differently, I'm already noticing a little bit better balance on the course. I'm noticing a little bit more power and strength through my swing, without even really specifically going into golf specific exercises. I said that with air quotes.
Air quotes.
For the listeners.
For the listeners. Well, maybe we'll use that clip on social so people get to see it. But I know what's one thing that I love about you and your programming and just 18Strong in general, and the idea of everything that you do, is that you don't want to wing it. That you always are looking to kind of assess and then track the progress. You know, that's been something that's been, you know, commonality that we have. You know, we pride ourselves on being hopefully, you know, what we would call the biggest nerds in the golf performance space and statistics, and to the point where we would put someone to sleep if I kept going down that route. So we're not going to go there. We're going to go the other way. For you, like when you say, like, don't just wing it, have a plan, track it. When you have somebody come in, let's say they're 50 years old, right? They're maybe losing some distance, maybe they're sore, you know, whatever, you name it. any 50-year-old listening, just imagine what you're complaining about. That's what Jeff is going to talk about. Like, how do you handle, like, you know, initially getting that person going and kind of figuring out, you know, of them thousands of exercises and plans you could give them, how do you figure out, like, this is what this person's going to need?
Well, first of all, you guys are the tracking nerds of the industry, and we appreciate that, because you guys have provided so much value to our industry. And, you know, I've never been a big numbers guy. I've never been a spreadsheet guy, but I found so much value in even the simplest little things. I think it was the book The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy many years ago that taught me the importance of what tracking can do. And this goes for tracking anything. This doesn't mean necessarily tracking your weight or your swing speed. Sometimes it's just tracking the things that you're doing, right? Mm-hmm. So even if it's as simple as, hey Bob, let's walk 3 times a week, or let's at least get 3 strength training days in a week, and simply track whether you did or didn't do that, because simply that accountability is a huge piece. And I would argue maybe the most important piece is to really check off whether you're doing what you said you were going to do or not. That's what we've noticed through our program, the 40-Day Forge. That's what we've noticed even just with having clients going off and doing their thing on their own. You know, are you just doing the couple little tasks that we said you were going to do or not? Right. But when you bring somebody in for the first time, or when we bring somebody in for the first time here in the gym, or even when they're doing something at home, having them go through some sort of an assessment, even if that's getting on the scale or seeing how fast they swing a club or going through some hip mobility stuff, and giving them an idea and really a picture of where they are in that moment. And then being able to bring them back to that, whatever test that was, in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 months, and be able to say, look how much progress you've made from day one. I just did this recently. So I was talking to Hayden Buckley not too long ago, and Hayden and I have worked on and off over the past several years. But when he came out of college, we worked pretty closely together because he went to Mizzou in Columbia here in Missouri. And I had video of the very first day that we worked together. And I pulled up a video of his, the first day we were working and like looking at his squat, looking at split squats and some of the things that he was really having trouble doing.
Right.
And he's a very, very diligent dude. So everything that we asked him to do, he did. Yeah. And, now he's a professional at doing these exercises and all of the different pieces that we've worked on. And so it was cool to see kind of that side by side, but that goes for anybody. That goes for a client that I work with that's 70 years old. Let's look at how your hips are moving. And then 6 months later, let's take a video on doing the same exact exercise and show you the position. And it's just amazing. When you see that, it not only shows that you've made progress, but it stimulates this hunger to then make more progress, I think.
100%. I think, I was laughing as you were saying you had him when he was younger. And I have so many videos of kids when they were younger that like trying to squat or move, and they look like literally just baby giraffes, like no idea what anything in the world is. I've still got pictures of guys on tour when they were like 14, 15, throwing a med ball, missing the catch, it like knocking the wind out of them in their belly, right? And then you go back and they're like, you still have that? And it's like, yeah, you better do it. Otherwise do your exercises or I'm sharing it on social.
I'm posting this on social media.
But I think the really cool point you made at the end there was the building or the snowball effect. And I see this all the time too, right? Well, I'll even get a guy who'll be like, you know what? I don't even care about speed. I just don't want my back to hurt. Like, I don't even I just don't. And so you go, okay, all right, we won't just be, you can be mad if you get a couple extra miles an hour while we fix your back. Well, I don't care. Like, just get my back better, right? And then, a month later or whatever, all of a sudden the back's feeling better. And that same guy, to your point, he's like, hey, how much faster do you think I can get? Like, all of a sudden he cares, right? That switch, like, and they start to see what's possible in those snowball effects. It's so true that mentality of, I think as coaches, and that you can kind of get the little win, and it just builds. And I think, that's true, not just in the gym, but also on the golf course. Now, you mentioned the 40-day forge. What is that? That sounds pretty cool.
So the 40-day forge is something that really kind of started just pretty locally. Myself, couple buddies. Backstory is several years ago for Lent, for 40 days of Lent, you tend to give something up or do something extra. So there were several years in a row that I gave up alcohol for Lent. Yeah. And so then a couple of years ago, I decided, okay, I've done that, and I want to do something a little bit more. And so I decided to contact a couple of my buddies and say, hey, I'm doing this thing for Lent. It's kind of, think of it almost like a sober October kind of a thing. Right. Yep. I'm going to go 40 days, no booze, but I'm going to add in a couple physical things. We're going to do some workouts and whatnot. And so a couple of buddies of mine joined in with me, and it was awesome. It was a huge bonding experience for me and a couple of my college friends. And we had a couple of people from the 18Strong community that joined in too, just a handful of people. And so the next year we're like, hey, let's up this a little bit and let's kind of create something pretty structured, and let's see if we can push ourselves a little bit more. So I ended up creating kind of this task list, and many of you might have heard of a program called 75 Hard that's out there. If not, it's by Andy Frisella. And so I had seen Andy Frisella and some of the stuff that they'd been doing with 75 Hard. And I'm like, let's model it a little bit. Let's model the forge a little bit after that. So it's 40 days. There's 7 tasks that you do every single day. And basically it's drinking water as soon as you get up in the morning. We have a little mobility routine that we call our EFDs, our every effing days, to get your body moving. You meditate for 10 minutes, or meditate, pray, silence, whatever it is. Just get off your phone, kind of be somewhat intentional with your time. Cold shower. We do an intentional physical activity for 40 minutes every day. So that could be workout. That could be even going and practicing golf. That could be several different things. No alcohol, and you have to stick to a perfect diet. So those are like big keys. Yeah. And then lastly, you do 15 golf swings every day, just air swings, just to keep the body moving and to make sure that you're still kind of staying in shape and ready to swing a golf club too. But the coolest thing about the 40-day forge is it's not necessarily a fitness program. We don't tell you what exercises to do, except for that little mobility routine.
Right.
We don't tell you what exercises to do.
I'm going to steal that. We will give you credit, but I'm going to start to use that. I love that.
Awesome. And it really, we don't tell you what foods to eat. We don't tell you any of that. It's more just about the process. And if you miss one of those 7 tasks, we have a printable calendar, we have a checklist. If you miss one of those tasks, you have to start over. And so you have to do this 40 days consecutively. That's where our tagline of no mulligans comes from.
Yeah.
There's no mulligans in the forge. There's no mulligans in life. You don't get this day again tomorrow. So take advantage of it as it is. And so the 40-day forge has been something that now we've had, I think, I think last year, maybe 100 people went through it, and we're trying to, again, this year. So now we start doing it on January, whatever the first Monday or January 2nd is when we'll start it. So we're trying to get a huge crew to do it. We've had plenty of golf fitness pros go through it with us because, again, there's no, it's not the 18Strong fitness program. Yeah. It's just, trying to get all of these people in the 18Strong crew in the world of golf and fitness to really just trust the process, stick to your guns, no mulligans. And it's kind of amazing, not just the physical transformations we've seen, but the mental transformations. The first year we went through it was really when COVID was going on, or the second year of COVID. But people were still in lockdowns here and there. And one of the biggest things that we heard was just mentally how much it helped everybody, because it gave them something to push for. It gave them something to really occupy their mental capacity, their physical capacity, and just, had a mission that they were moving towards. So it's been a really, really cool thing. I think it's the most impactful thing that we have done with the amount of people that have gone through it. And I hope that it just continues to get bigger.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. And I think, speaking of the kind of impact that you guys have had, like if you had to think of, the impacts that you've had on the, hundreds, thousands of people, what would be kind of the most inspiring, story or, of somebody who's kind of come in and then you guys have been able to, you personally or through 18Strong have been able to really kind of give them back. There's nothing more enjoyable to me than when we could literally give somebody back the game of golf when they were like, I'm done. You're my last stop. Like, I'm sure you've had more than one of those. I think it's always inspirational, and somebody may be listening who's kind of at that point, and to hear the story of somebody, they're like, "Oh, that's me," right?
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer. If we can help one person every episode, we'll be fulfilling our mission of really trying to be the best in the world of giving people longevity in the game. And I think we share that same mission. And so I think if you can think of a good kind of success story or somebody that and I think I want everybody listening, as Jeff says it. I'm also going to give you a couple seconds because I did not prep you with this. So
yeah,
I was going to spring on you. But I want everyone to pay attention to the focus that I'm sure we're going to hear of, the simplicity. There's not 100,000 different things that was thrown at them. I think so many of you that are out there that are kind of, grasping for a solution or thinking that it needs to be this massively complex, incredibly difficult solution. In reality, it's like the 40-day forge. Sometimes it's just the simple things done consistently that can give you those results. So, let's hear it. What's one that it would be comfortable sharing?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple that come to mind specifically, but there's one in particular. This guy named Matt that we worked with, and I'm a big believer that, first of all, our missions are totally 1,000% aligned, and I'm a big believer, especially now that I'm of the age of the 45 plus crew, that it's really easy to get, especially in this game, to if you're most of us aren't playing this game to go play professional. We're not playing at a super high level. We're playing again because we love it. But it's also a game where you can really get pretty complacent with your physicality. And you and I both work with a lot of individuals that are either in the corporate world or, they aren't necessarily in the most physical jobs every single day. And it's really easy to kind of let your life take control of your physical abilities and, kind of let yourself go downhill a little bit and just accept the fact that that's just kind of how life is. And so this gentleman, Matt, he came to us. This was a couple of years ago. We were doing a kind of a private coaching group, small group. And he was self-admittedly, he called himself, he said, I'm the fat friend, right? Like I'm the fat friend in the golf group. And, I was struggling with a bunch of injuries, and he wasn't sure that he even wanted to join the group because of some of the ailments that he had. Right. I think he had like an elbow thing going on and a shoulder thing, maybe some back pain. I can't recall exactly, but very much like the Forge, it wasn't nearly as intense as the Forge of doing something every single day. But we laid out the structure of I think it was 3 workouts a week. You had some mobility days in there. But it was that accountability of we had a weekly check-in and in fact, I think we made everybody in that group read the book, The Compound Effect. And we had them create just a weekly checklist. Not exactly, they knew what workouts they were supposed to be doing, but the checklist was more, did you do your mobility day? Did you do your workout? And then a couple things diet-wise.
Right.
And by the end of this program, first of all, Matt ended up losing, I don't remember exactly, maybe 15, maybe 20 pounds. It was really cool to see just this transformation. He looked 10, 15 years younger by the end of this 3-month program. But the 2 coolest things that really stick out in my head is he went on a golf trip, and he said that all of his buddies were now, he said he was always the funny fat friend. His buddies were now asking him for fitness advice and what to eat and like all this stuff. And he's like, dude, guys, I thought I was the fat guy,
Yeah, right.
But even more cool than that was his daughter came up to him at one point, like in the last month or 2, and asked if he would start to teach her how to work out and how to get in shape, because she wanted to start to do the things that dad was doing. Right. And I was like, dude, that might be the coolest thing that I've seen. But it like, to me, our mission is really to help teach everybody that whoever you are listening to this, you're stronger than you think you are. Mm-hmm. You just have to put yourself in position to test that and be willing to kind of break through that barrier and take that first step. And then it's just a matter of putting that one foot in front of the other and celebrating those little wins. And, you and I, we've talked about this before. We had one of my favorite episodes of all time on our show was with Ed Milet. And he said that self-confidence is simply doing the things that you tell yourself you're going to do, and so by you telling yourself, I'm going to go do this workout. And then if you do it, celebrate the fact that you did it, because a lot of people wouldn't have. But if you don't do it, that's when you start to feel down. That's when and then that can roller coaster too. Right. So, it's all about the little wins, doing the very simple things, but doing them with dogged determination and doing them consistently over and over and over and over. I don't care if that's getting out and walking for 30 minutes, if that's what level you are, or if that's going and doing, some wind sprints on the bike and getting in and doing your squats and your whatever you need to do. But being intentional and doing it consistently.
And I think first of all, it's an amazing story. That's so cool. I love the fact that literally not only did him committing to that and doing the program with you guys get him better, but it also inspired the next generation. And I think people don't always think about that you start hitting the ball further, or you start feeling better, and all of a sudden all your buddies start like, hey, what are you doing? Or, oh, no way, you can't outdrive me. What are you doing? I got to go do that, right? There's this status, right? But I think, you go down to the junior level and the kids, and that is just, it's so cool to hear that was able to occur. And, I think the big thing that sticks out to me is like, it's just do something and do it consistently. Mm-hmm. And like it applies not just in the gym, but also on the golf course. I think that's the cool thing to me. That's always kind of, I don't know, made it not really work, is that everything that you do in the gym also applies on the golf course. Your pre-lift routine is like the same type of thing that you can do before your pre-shot routine. Like, you can't squat once every 30 days and expect to be a world-class squatter, just like you can't putt once every 30 days and then get pissed that you missed 4 6-footers. Like it's not complicated, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily easy. I think that's an important message to take home. So, but Jeff, tell everybody, listen, where can they find you? Where can they find 18Strong? We'll put everything in the show notes too, but everybody, is definitely going to want to kind of follow up and check out what you guys are doing and hopefully get involved in that 40-day Forge.
Yeah. Yeah. So 18 Strong is, I mean, you can find us at 18strong.com. Any of the social media platforms, just type in 18 Strong. It's all one word. You can find us there. If you want details on the Forge, 18strong.com/the Forge. It'll have you just put your email address in, and then it'll send you over to the list of all the tasks. And there's even a video on there that I shot, I think the very first day of the Forge. And then if you want the EFD routine, we also have that and that's totally free. Just 18strong.com/EFD, I think.
Awesome.
So you can get that. But yeah, anything with 18 Strong, we would love to have all of you guys join the Forge. Anybody that wants, and you can shoot me an email, jeff@18strong.com, if you guys have any questions or need to get in touch with me for any reason. But yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me on, dude.
Yeah, man, it was a blast. And just for everyone, it's the number 18. So 18 yes. Strong. Don't type in the word, go 18. He made it even simpler for you. But yeah, Jeff, thanks so much for coming on, man. Been an absolute blast to have a legend like yourself on here. And I can't thank you enough for the just the words of wisdom that you're willing to share with us and take this time out of your day. So appreciate you helping us diffuse some bombs, hopefully out there, so people can keep playing this game forever.
Well, I appreciate your time, and I really do appreciate everything that you guys are doing. You guys are inspiring us to do more, and you guys are helping educate us, and we're hoping to pass that along to the world of golf too. So thanks for what you do.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. We'll talk to you soon.